Hello, scholars, and welcome back. This is week 4 of CJ485 Methods of Research in Criminal Justice. I hope that you all had a successful week 3, as now we transition into week 4 and are going to focus on research design. I hesitated sending this video out until I had all of your week 3 assignments graded. Remember, in week 3 we focused on creating our problem and our purpose statement. And as we have spoke of in the past, those two literally create the foundation for the remainder of our study. With a strong problem followed up by a strong purpose, you then have a research design. I hope, by this point, I hope that you have all read the feedback from week 3. For many of you, you got detailed feedback with some suggestions on how we can transition our topic and even your problem and purpose statements into an actual research study. For many of you, you had very large topics followed up by very broad problems and purpose. Where you kind of lacked a lot of issues is that many of your problems wouldn't be able to be solved with a scientific method, that it wouldn't be solved with a research. Many of you identified very large scale problems with very large scale purpose, and hopefully with my feedback that I gave you, you realize how we can then maybe focus it on to an actual researchable topic, that your purpose, the purpose of this study, not the purpose of the problem. The purpose of this study is to solve or to answer this. And remember, in research, we're trying to find an answer. We identify a problem, we create a pathway to answer that problem, and we come up with some sort of answer or some sort of explanation or some sort of identify some sort of impact. That is our process. So if your purpose didn't lead to some sort of question, then many of you got some feedback that would maybe help you or steer you in that direction. So I hope that all of you have taken the time, and if not, take the time to look at your week 3 problem and purpose statement assignment, and most all of you got some very long, detailed instructions or suggestions. And once again, those are only suggestions. Maybe you don't need to necessarily use the exact example that I gave you, but those are there just to maybe guide you in a direction or give you an example of how your topic can be then formulated into a proper problem and purpose statement that is research-based. So with that, let's move into our week 4 agenda. And before we start talking, let's understand that week 4 is probably the most labor-intensive week that we're going to have in this class. Because here in week 4, not only are we going to write our research question, our assignment number 4, but we're also going to create our annotated bibliography. And it's a very arduous week. There's a lot of work here in week 4. But for some of you constant optimists that look at the glass full instead of empty, think about this. Once we get through week 4, you in essence have your first chapter of your prospectus wrote. You have a problem statement, a purpose statement, a research question, and you at this point understand why there's a significance of the study. You will also have wrote your literature review, your second chapter. That's at annotated bibliography. From that annotated bibliography, you get the reference list. Those go hand in hand. So if we look at our 5 sections of our research perspective, at the end of week 4, you will have chapter 1 done, chapter 2 done, and chapter 4 done. So that only remains our chapter 3, our methodologies, and our chapter 5, our appendix. So we look really good once we have a successful week 4. We put in the work today, and like many of your classes that are very arduous at the end, this class, once you get to that critical assignment, you just put the pieces together and submit. So that we'll put the work in this week. So here we have our week 4 agenda. We got our reading assignment. That's going to be chapter 5 on experimental and quasi-experimental designs. That's going to then transition directly into these 2 words that we're going to look at: a qualitative research design and a quantitative research design. And all of your studies are either going to lie or land in one or the other. You're going to look at the qualitative and you're going to report on a qualitative aspect, or you're going to report on a quantitative aspect. Looking at numbers or figures and reporting on the figures. Qualitative, reporting on the feelings or life lured life that you're going to report upon. So you're going to need to understand qualitative and quantitative research design, which is then going to directly be the way that we are going to do experimental and quasi-experimental design. So those go hand in hand. Then our assignment number 4 is going to be our research question. We're going to create our annotated bibliography, and then we have a quiz and a discussion board. And as you realize in this class, many of the discussion boards, you're just sharing the work that you've done this week. So it's and I find there's a lot of benefit especially for some of you that are struggling to understand what you see with your classmates, what your colleagues are doing. I think that'll really hit home and maybe steer us all in a positive direction. So let's look piece by piece. We have our PowerPoint on research design, qualitative and quantitative research. Very straightforward, which will directly relate to our reading. We have our assignment number 4. So let's go through this. This, once again, is going to be due at the end of the week on July 29th on Sunday at 11:59 p.m. To take a quick little tangent, I want to thank all of you. I think we are getting to the point of this class where we get our feet underneath. We understand the design of this course, and everybody is submitting their work early and accurately before the deadline. So I definitely appreciate that. But for this week, our assignment number 4, our research question. This week you will write a research question that logically follows the problem and purpose statement you submitted in week 3. Framing the research question is one of the most difficult research tasks that any research faces. Therefore, be prepared to spend a substantial amount of time and thought in completing this exercise. I post an example that how you can write a research question based upon your problem and purpose statement. And for many of you in your feedback in week 3, I've steered you into a direction of a research question. Remember, we want this to be a very manageable question that you can actually research. It needs to be in the form of a question. And think about anytime you write a research question, you are then anticipating how you are going to answer that question. So remember, we aren't going to just write a question and then not answer it. Our research, our whole design is based upon how we are going to answer that question. So if you are going to give a survey to the public and ask them to report on their perspective on a certain topic, you would then write a question understanding that you are going to give a group of individuals, a population, a sample, a survey, and you're going to report upon that survey. So remember, it needs to be in the form of a question and anticipate how are you the researcher going to answer that question. So there's an example and the rubric attached. And once again, 25 points, July 29th, Sunday, 11:59. The next assignment is your annotated bibliography. So we have our annotated bibliography. Once again, that is due July 29th, 11:59, Sunday. This is 100 points possible, so it's a big ticket item. The key that I'm looking for are 10 references, or 15 references. So to get that full credit here in the rubric, we need 15 different resources. We have the rubric here to walk you through how it's being scored. And I also attached an example. And for a lot of you visuals learners, you're going to look at that and you're just going to see how there's each citation or each reference, and then just a short little bit of information on why you are including that reference and why it is applicable to this study. So I think it'll be straightforward with the rubric and the example. Once again, give me 15 of them. Make sure that there's a connection. Make sure that they're properly formatted in APA style, that there's good mechanics and formatting, and that you give a good annotation, that you give me a reason why you included each one of these 15. And once again, 100 points, so it's a big ticket item. And remember, that is going to be the literature review, that second chapter of our prospectus. Then we have our quiz here in week 4. Our quiz in week 4 is going to be based upon the readings that'll correspond with our PowerPoint lectures and our readings. Once again, there's no time limit, but once you open it, you need to complete it. So allocate enough time to be able to work your way through that. And then finally, we have our week 4 discussion board. And in our discussion board, we want to discuss what you have learned so far about the research process. In completing this project, write out your problem and purpose statement and comment on the problem and purpose statement of at least 2 classmates. So by this point, you should have already redesigned or maybe altered or maybe fine-tuned your week 3 assignment, and I want you to share that with your classmates, your problem statement and your purpose statement, and then get some good scholarly feedback from those. And remember, and I'll include this so that there's no doubt, I want you to include both your purpose and your problem statement, and then I want good scholarly feedback. I don't want any agrees, I don't want any good jobs, great topics. I want you to add to the discussion. So I expect at least 200 words per response, and I will ensure that I put that on here so that we're all on the same page. But that then concludes week 4. Halfway through our course at this point, or when we get through with week 4, and we have another large portion of the building blocks completed. So that's an exciting. Once again though, research questions are difficult. If you have any concerns, comments at all, let me know. At this point of this class, if I'm not hearing from you, I assume we are just clicking and everything is working well. If you do have a concern, remember, anything that you have, we can potentially, or we will be able to deal with, but the only way we can deal with problems is with communication. So please get a hold of me if you have any concerns. I don't want any last minute, oh my goodness, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm lost. By this point, we should be building and learning weekly. And I can't wait to read your research questions. This is an exciting week for me because for many of you, you have done an incredible job from taking a very broad topic and actually making it into some scientific method sort of problem. You've identified that it's a problem. You've identified the purpose. And then this week, I can actually see and read how you are going to formulate these research or this research question. And then it's an exciting week for me to see how this thing evolves and it builds and it grows, and each one of you are growing along with it. So I'll be thinking about you. I'll be praying for you this week. I hope that you all have a very blessed week, and I look forward to reading all of your assignments. So bye for now.